So as part of your subscription to the Adobe Creative Cloud, you get a handful of mobile apps that work with your smartphone as well. And one of them is, well, they're all pretty amazing, but the one I want to show you right now is called Adobe Capture. And it's an amazing tool that you can use to capture all kinds of digital assets, from fonts, patterns, brush styles, materials. A material would be like maybe the color of this wood desk I have here, but wrapped around a 3D object, so you can apply different materials to 3D objects. What else can it do? It can do vector tracing and all kinds of cool stuff. So I want to show you real quick how you could use that to not only speed up your workflow, but to add another level of creativity to all of your design projects. So what I'm going to do first is go ahead and open up my phone and jump into the Adobe Capture app. Now, when you first log in, you're going to have to sign in with your Adobe ID. So use your email and your password. And then you'll land on a quick tutorial, and just take a second to look at all of them because they might be different than what I'm able to show you now, because they'll update it all the time. But take a quick look at what's possible. So when we jump in here, we can create shapes, we can create type, colors, materials, patterns, brushes, all kinds of really amazing things. So what I want to do real quick, just to show you the power of this tool and how it works with the Adobe library, so all of your assets sync between all of your devices and all of the programs. So I'm going to jump into shapes real quick, and let's say I was working on maybe a logo design for somebody, or I just wanted to add some extra textural elements to my designs. So on the bottom, I can use either the photo button, where I can choose to load it from my camera roll, which is any photos on my device, or the Creative Cloud, which, think of Creative Cloud, that is like, as far as this option here, it's kind of like Dropbox. So you can sync, I think it's up to 20 gigs of assets between all of your devices, basically the exact same kind of a service as Dropbox. You've got Lightroom, stock, so if you want to buy Adobe stock images, or files, so I can load files from my phone. Or again, the camera roll, I could take pictures from my phone. Or I can just click right here on the camera button, and now I can see a vectorized version of my desk and all kinds of cool things. And now if I scrub the slider here, it adjusts how full that is. So that's it's my printer and my storage area for all my hard drives and cables and stuff. Here's my Beats headphones on the desk here. So I can scrub this and get different, well, you see what it's doing here. Ton of fun. I'm just going to take a picture real quick. And then now what I can do is I can refine this a little bit further, and it's got a lot of different options. So down here I can take the eraser tool, and let's say I don't want to include this extra area. I can just use my finger and erase away the extra vector data that I don't want to bring in and deal with later. Okay, so I can do that. I can scrub right here to change my eraser size if I want to get into really small areas and clean things up more precisely. And then I can also crop this to different sizes. I can smooth things out. So smoothing on or smoothing off. Click down here on the bottom to change those options. So I was thinking about it here. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back off. All right, and then when you're done, all you have to do is just hit save. So I'll click save on the top right. And now I can give this a name, and I can tell it what library to save it to. So when you're working with your Creative Cloud libraries, you can create a whole bunch of different folders essentially to save all of your artwork. So the way I usually work is it's based on each client or each project. So depending on my client's name, I'll make a library just for them where I'll save all their color swatches, all their fonts, all of their graphic elements, and any photos that I've purchased for the product. That way they're always in one spot. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save real quick. All right, so I've got a new shape I can work with. I'm gonna jump in here to type, and right now I don't have any fonts, so what I'm gonna do is turn on my camera. So it sees my desk here, and I've got this brochure book on my desk. I'm just gonna hold it over here, and it's gonna automatically find the fonts. So it's found the fonts that I have available to work with, and I can zoom in here, or I can choose which one I wanna work with. So I'm gonna click on the word design and hit the little check box. And now what it's going to do is sync up with the Adobe Typekit to find any fonts that are close. And now you might not find the exact match, but you'll find a bunch that are in the same font family, whether it's a serif or sans serif, and it'll get you close. So you can find something that'll work perfectly. So we can see the original image up above, and I can see that this first selection is pretty close. You can see the letters on the original photo, they're squished a little bit. They're a little narrower than this first design option, so maybe I'll scroll through a little bit and see if there's anything else that fits a little bit better. And you know what, that works good enough for my purpose right now, so what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and hit save. And it automatically gives it the name Character Style 1. I can rename that to be whatever I want it to be, but I'll hit save. It's going to save it to my Bootcamp Part 2 library that I've created for this course. Now let's jump over to the colors. So same kind of deal. Let's see, what could we, here, we'll do this. All right, so I've got my cool skis back here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and borrow from these things. And just thinking about it. I'm going to take a picture. There we go. And now it's got all of the swatches that it sampled from those skis back there. I can go through and I can edit all of these settings if I want to. I can change how the colors are sampled. As well as going back to the original image, I can actually drag these color swatches onto specific areas if I want to add a different color to the mix. So let's just focus on the skis right here because I don't want to mix in that wall color because it doesn't really work well together. There we go. All right, and I'll go ahead and I'll save those as an option. I'll hit save. Color theme 1 sounds good. And we'll hit save, and that will save to my Bootcamp Part 2 library. Now you'll notice down below, publish to color.adobe.com. So you can actually publish all of these color themes to, if we jump on the website real quick, let me just jump in here. All right, so here's Adobe Color, another really cool tool that you can use to create color profiles and color swatches for your project. So if I have that turned on, when I save this, it'll actually publish this to my Adobe Color profile as well on the web browser that then can be shared with other friends or other designers, or just to let everybody else see what you're working on if you want. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save. And then let's jump over to materials. So there's a lot of other really cool apps, and I'm gonna run out of time in this video to show you, but when you get a chance, check out Adobe Dimension CC. If you come over here to your, the Creative Cloud, the Adobe Creative Cloud, the app on your computer, and come up here to apps, and we'll scroll down towards the bottom. It's a newer app called Dimension CC, and it's a 3D rendering application. It's super cool, and it's really easy to use, and they give you a really intuitive tutorial when you first log in. So what I can do is I can open up my phone here again and go into materials, and I can take a picture. In this case, it was a picture of my desk, and it just says tap to freeze. So I'll go ahead and hit my picture button to freeze that as my material, and I can come through and I can change all kinds of settings. I can crop my image, and I can preview what it's going to look like. So that material was created from my desk, which is amazing. So what I'm going to do is actually down here on the bottom, you can change what kind of a 3D object it's rendering it to. If you want to see it as different options. Very cool. There it is on a shopping bag. So when I'm all done with it and I've got it right where I want, I'll just hit save. And we'll save it to Bootcamp Part 2. And now I'm going to jump over to patterns. All right, so this one's really cool too. Patterns are a super easy way to add more depth to your design. So let's say you have a flat backdrop or a background, you just put some simple text on front of it for an ad or something. By adding a little bit of a textural element behind it, whether it's a text or in this case a pattern, it can add a lot to your designs and go a long ways to just push it a little bit further, just in subtle ways. Let me show you what I mean. So same deal, I'm going to turn on my camera here, and I'm pointing it at my desk. And so you can see in the middle, you see the image that it's sampling from. And as I move it, the pattern changes. So let me get, let's do this. All right, so now, there's my signature in the pattern. Really cool pattern that it's pulling up here. I could play with this all day. All right, just take the picture, Derek. There we go. So I've got a picture of my desktop right there, and that's what it's creating the pattern with. So I'll go ahead and save that pattern. All right, we'll save it to Bootcamp Part 2. And then last, we're gonna jump over into brushes. So same deal, what I'm gonna do is turn on my camera and we're just gonna take a picture of my keyboard because it's right here in front of me. So click on that and it uses that to define my brush. So now what I can do is drag my guides, drag the photo, crop it wherever I want. And you can see up above what it's doing to the brush, and then I can even tap on here to kind of see what my brush is gonna look like, okay? Once I get that where I want it, I'll go ahead and jump over into styles, and I can do some different default settings with my styles as well for my brush, whether it's coming into Illustrator or maybe I want to do like a scatter sketch brush in Photoshop. So I'll click on that guy right there. We'll jump into presets and I can change my size by default, my minimum size, the direction it goes by default, or I can set it to none so it scatters everywhere. I've got my spacing set, bump that scattering a little bit. We'll go on both axes so it turns. All right, that's pretty cool. Let's see what that looks like. So now I can do this and make a really cool brush out of a picture of my keyboard on my desk. That's amazing. I can come in here and I can refine this again by adjusting the contrast of the original photo so I can kind of clean things up if I want to. When it's all said and done, I'll hit save. This is brush 1, saving it to the boot camp, and I will hit save. All right, so that's Adobe Capture on your smart device. Now, here's where the fun really begins. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to jump into, let's just jump into Photoshop real quick. I should have had this open, but what we're gonna do is take a look at how this syncs to your library immediately, almost immediately. So I'm gonna create a new document. And we're gonna go pretty fast here because I don't want this tutorial to get really long, but what I want you to do is just see what's possible and play with it and check it out. So I'm gonna jump into the Bootcamp Part 2 library in Photoshop. So if you don't see that, I'm just gonna reset my settings real quick. I'm gonna come back up here to Essentials, and then I'm going to reset Essentials in my workspace so that way you kind of see the same thing I have. I'm gonna pull up my Bootcamp Part 2 library, and you can see I've got my color themes going on here. So if I wanted to, I could quickly use those colors from my skis and fill the background with that nice red color. And then maybe let's jump into my brush, and I'm gonna make a new layer. Hit the letter B to get my brush tool. And in theory, let's see if this works how I want it to. I need to change the color. So let's sample that gray color again for my skis. I've got my brush turned on, I'm in a new layer, and now I'm just gonna paint over the top. And that's kind of cool. I'm gonna change the blend mode a little bit. I'm gonna change it to multiply. And then maybe scrub that opacity down a little bit just so it's more subtle. That's pretty cool. And then where was that? Okay, there's my Beats headphones. I'm gonna drag that right in. This is that vector that we captured. That's kind of cool. I'm just gonna scrub down the opacity a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. I don't know, we're just playing. So this isn't supposed to be a professional design. This is to show you how you could use the tools to make something cool. So if you were building some kind of cool background or something to build an ad over the top, this is a great way to do it. Now let's throw some text on here. So we'll grab my default character style, hit the letter T to get my type tool. I'm gonna change the color to white. I'll click in here and we're gonna call this Adobe Capture. How's that? So now it's using that same font that we captured from this brochure book, which is awesome. So that is how you can quickly use Adobe Capture to sample, I was gonna say one more thing, materials. All right, so we're gonna jump into Adobe Dimension real quick tangent. I'm gonna create a new document. When you jump in here, it'll take you through how to use this. So I'm just gonna assume that you've gone through that tutorial when you check it out. But what I can do, by default, it'll show you these starter assets. So I can throw anything in here. We'll just throw this cube in here real quick. Okay, and then up at the top where it says starter assets, I can twirl this down to show my libraries. And that's where those materials that I sampled will show up. So I can take this material from my desk and drop it right on that cube. And now it's gonna apply that material to this 3D object. Really cool stuff, definitely worth checking out. And I hope you learned a lot in this lesson.